6 months after the Battle of the Crystal Death, as historians would later call it, the galaxy was a very different place. The Zephyrian colony ship Harmony's Dream had been rebuilt and renamed New Hope. It now orbited a planet in the system under human protection, far from the ancient hunting grounds of the Devourers. Captain Velter stood on the bridge of his new ship, watching human patrol vessels move through the system. The humans had kept their promise. No hostile force would threaten his people again. Captain, called Communications Officer Zilna, we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel Iron Resolve VI. Put it through. The main screen showed Captain Jake Morrison, now fully recovered from his injuries. His ship had been rebuilt and upgraded with human military technology. It was no longer just an exploration vessel, but a guardian of the new alliance between humans and Zephyrians. Good morning, Velter. How are your people settling in? Very well, Captain Morrison. The children are especially fascinated by your security drills. Morrison smiled. Chief Stone loves teaching them about defensive tactics. She says they learn faster than human recruits. Security Chief Rachel Stone had volunteered to train Zephyrian defense forces. Her methods were gentle compared to human military standards, but still effective. The peaceful aliens were learning that sometimes violence was necessary to protect the innocent. Jake, I wanted to thank you again for what your people did. We called for help in desperation, and you gave us everything. That is what neighbors do, Velter. The relationship between humans and Zephyrians had grown beyond simple alliance. Dr. Kevin Walsh had established a joint research facility where human scientists worked with Zephyrian scholars to study the remains of Devourer technology. What they learned would help protect the galaxy from future threats. On Earth, Admiral Chris Hayes stood in the office of the Secretary of Defense, looking out at the blue skies of his home world. On his desk lay reports from across the galaxy. 17 different alien species had made contact with humanity in the past 6 months, all asking for protection or alliance. Admiral, the Galactic Council wants to meet with us, the Secretary said. What do they want? Officially, to discuss trade agreements and cultural exchange. Unofficially, they are terrified of us and want to make sure we do not consider them a threat. Hayes had expected this. Word of the Devourer battle had spread throughout the galaxy. Everyone knew that humans possessed weapons that could destroy planets and fleets that could travel across space in days instead of months. What are your recommendations, sir? We meet with them, but we set the terms, and we make it clear that Earth protects its friends. The meeting would take place on a neutral station in 6 months. Representatives from dozens of species would gather to establish formal relations with humanity. But Hayes knew the real negotiations had already taken place. The Battle of the Crystal Death had been humanity's introduction to the galaxy, and the message was clear: be peaceful or face the consequences. On the research station orbiting the former battleground, Dr. Walsh studied the last intact piece of Devourer technology. The crystal fragment was no bigger than his hand, but it contained the accumulated knowledge of millions of years. Computer analysis complete? Affirmative, Dr. Walsh. The Devourer database contains star charts showing the locations of approximately 400 Devourer queens throughout the galaxy. Walsh felt his blood turn cold. 400 more queens, each capable of destroying civilizations. Are any of them active? Negative. All queens appear to have entered dormancy mode following the destruction of the local swarm. However, dormancy could end if they detect new threats. Define new threats. Rapid expansion of spacefaring civilizations, development of advanced weapons technology, or organized resistance to devourer operations. Walsh understood the implications immediately. The devourers had gone into hiding because they detected that something had changed in the galaxy. They sensed that a new predator had emerged humanity. He activated his communication system. Dr. Walsh to Admiral Hayes. Go ahead, Kevin. Sir, we have a problem. And an opportunity. Explain. The devourers have 400 queens scattered across the galaxy. They are all in hiding now, waiting to see what we do next. If we leave them alone, they will eventually wake up and continue destroying civilizations. But if we hunt them down systematically, we could eliminate the threat permanently. Yes, sir. But it would mean sending human fleets to every corner of the galaxy. It would mean decades of war against enemies that have been preparing for millions of years. Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke with the calm determination that had made him the leader of humanity's space forces. Kevin, send me the coordinates of every queen. We have work to do. The Great Hunt, as it would become known, began 3 months later. Human fleets spread across the galaxy, seeking out dormant devourer queens before they could wake up and resume their ancient campaign of destruction. It was dangerous work. Some queens had evolved new defenses during their long sleep. Others had built massive fortress worlds around themselves. But humanity had also evolved, developing new weapons and tactics with each battle. Commander Bess Rogers led the 1st Expeditionary Force, taking the Armageddon and 12 support ships to the galactic core. Their mission was to eliminate a cluster of 7 queens that had been dormant for 50,000 years. Commander, we are approaching the target system, reported her tactical officer. All ships, battle stations. Remember, these queens have had time to prepare. Expect surprises. The battle was fierce but brief. The dormant queens had indeed prepared defenses, surrounding themselves with automated weapon platforms and fields of crystal mines. But human technology had advanced since the first battle. The reality disruptors were more powerful, the kinetic weapons more precise, the antimatter warheads more destructive. 7 more queens died, and the galaxy became a little safer. Similar battles took place across the galaxy as human forces systematically hunted down the remaining devourers. Some queens surrendered, offering their technology in exchange for mercy. Others fought to the bitter end, taking their secrets with them into oblivion. But one by one, they fell. Captain Morrison, now commanding a small fleet of his own, led the final mission of the Great Hunt. The last devourer queen had been found in a dead system at the edge of the galaxy, surrounded by the ruins of 1,000 civilizations it had destroyed over the millennia. All ships. This is Morrison. This is what we came here to do. This is why we left Earth and traveled to the stars. Not for glory, not for conquest, but to make sure that innocent people can sleep safely at night. The battle lasted 6 hours. The final queen was ancient beyond measure, larger than any they had encountered, and protected by defenses built from the remains of 100 different species. But in the end, it felt like all the others. Target destroyed, reported the weapons officer. No survivors detected. Morrison looked at the expanding cloud of crystal dust that had once been the galaxy's greatest threat. All ships, mission accomplished. The Devourers are extinct. A year later, the galaxy celebrated the first Galactic Peace Day. Representatives from 200 species gathered on the same neutral station where humans had first met with the Galactic Council. Captain Velter represented the Zephyrians, now one of humanity's closest allies. Dr. Walsh had been promoted to Director of Galactic Sciences. Admiral Hayes commanded the new Galactic Defense Force, a joint military organization with ships and crews from dozens of worlds, but the most honored guests were the survivors of the Iron Resolve's original crew. They were the ones who had answered a desperate call for help and started the chain of events that freed the galaxy from its ancient nightmare. As the ceremonies concluded, a new transmission reached the celebration. It came from the edge of known space, in a language no one had heard before. Unknown species of the core systems, we are dying. Strange creatures from dark space have found us. They consume all light, all energy. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. Admiral Hayes looked at the transmission data, then at Captain Morrison. Jake, looks like we are needed again. Morrison smiled and began walking toward his ship. The Iron Resolve 3 is ready for launch, Admiral. Just give us the coordinates. As the human fleet prepared for departure, representatives from dozens of allied species volunteered to join the mission. The galaxy had learned that when darkness threatened, there was always light to be found, and that light usually came from the third planet of the Sol system, where a species of Deathworlders had decided that protecting their neighbors was worth any price. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, knowing that somewhere in the darkness between worlds, human ships stood ready to answer any call for help. The Zephyrians no longer regretted sending that desperate SOS signal. Instead, they had become the first to learn what the rest of the galaxy now knew. When you call for help, when you face the impossible, when all hope seems lost, call the humans. They always answer. And they always bring enough firepower to solve the problem permanently. The human fleet drifted in space, damaged but victorious. Around them, the remains of 60,000 Devourers floated like broken glass. The massive queen had become a field of crystal dust that sparkled in the starlight, but their victory celebration was cut short when long-range sensors detected something that made Admiral Hayes feel cold fear in his chest. "Sir, we have a problem," the sensor operator called from his damaged station. "Long-range scanners are picking up multiple large contacts approaching from deep space." "How many?" "At least 12, sir. All queen-sized." Dr. Walsh looked up from his readings with horror on his face. "Admiral, the destruction of the first queen sent out some kind of signal. It called for help. A distress call, more like a war cry. The other queens know we are here now, and they are coming." Admiral Hayes gripped the arm of his command chair. 12 Devourer queens, each the size of a small moon, each carrying millions of smaller crystal creatures. His fleet had barely survived, fighting one queen, and most of his ships were seriously damaged. "How long until they arrive?" 4 hours, sir. Hayes made the hardest decision of his military career. All ships. Emergency evacuation protocol. Transfer all survivors to the ships. Was working hyperspace drives. We are getting out of here. On the Iron Resolve, Captain Morrison coordinated the evacuation of wounded crew members to the other ships. His vessel had lost main power and could not make the jump to hyperspace. Jake, I am sorry, Admiral Hayes said over the communication system. We cannot repair your ship in time. I understand, sir. My crew and I will buy you time to escape. Negative. You are coming with us. That is an order. Morrison looked around his bridge at the crew who had served with him for 5 years. They had been through everything together. With respect, sir, someone needs to make sure the Queens do not follow you home. My ship still has weapons, Doctor. Sam Johnson worked frantically in the medical bay, treating crew members who had been injured by the weapon feedback. Burns, broken bones, and radiation sickness filled every bed, but the humans bore their injuries without complaint. Doctor, how many can we move? Morrison asked. Most of them, Captain. But some are too badly hurt to transport safely. Then they stay with me. Sir, I volunteer to stay as well. They will need medical care. Morrison nodded. Dr. Johnson had been his ship's doctor for 3 years. The man had saved dozens of lives and never asked for anything in return. In the cargo bay, the Zephyrians watched the human evacuation with confusion and growing respect. These strange beings were calmly preparing to sacrifice themselves to save people they had just met. I do not understand, Zilna said to Chief Medical Officer Kessera. Why are they staying? They could escape with the others, because that is what humans do, Kessera replied. I have been studying them since we came aboard. They do not abandon people, ever, but they will die. Yes, and they know it. Security Chief Rachel Stone approached the alien group. Captain Velter, we are transferring you and your people to the Defiant. You will be safe there. What about you? Velter asked. I am staying with my ship. Why? Rachel looked at the alien captain with steady eyes. Because someone has to make the last stand, and humans always volunteer for the last stand. The evacuation took 2 hours. Ship after ship docked with the Iron Resolve and took off injured crew members and all the Zephyrian survivors. Finally, only 30 humans remained on the damaged vessel. Admiral Hayes made one last communication to Captain Morrison. Jake, you have done more than enough. Come home. Negative, sir. We have a job to finish. Take care of those aliens. They are good people. Understood. It has been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine, sir. The remaining ships of the Wolf Pack jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Iron Resolve alone in space. Around them, the wreckage of the first battle floated in silence. Well, Morrison said to his remaining crew, looks like it is just us. Engineer Danny Park had managed to restore some power to the ship's weapons. Captain, I have 4 plasma cannons online and maybe a dozen missiles. Not much against 12 queens. It will have to be enough, Doctor. Walsh monitored the approaching Devourer fleet on his sensors. Captain, the queens are not coming alone. Each one is carrying a swarm of smaller units. I estimate over 1 million crystal creatures total. How long until they arrive? 90 minutes. Morrison activated the ship's communication system. All hands. This is a captain. We all know what we are facing. We all know how this is going to end. But we also know why we are here. Somewhere behind us, there is a fleet carrying wounded humans and terrified aliens to safety. Our job is to make sure they get home. Our job is to buy them time. And by God, we are going to do our job. The crew worked with quiet efficiency to prepare for the battle. They knew they could not win, but they also knew they could make their deaths count. Security Chief Rachel Stone armed the ship's self-destruct system. Captain, if we set this off when the Queens get close enough, we might take a few of them with us. Do it, Dr. Johnson set up the medical bay to treat casualties for as long as possible. He knew most of his patients would not survive the battle, but he would keep them comfortable. Communications Officer Tony Cruz sent one last message toward Earth. Earth Command, this is the Iron Resolve. We have encountered and defeated one Devourer Queen, but 12 more are approaching. We are going to hold them here as long as possible. Tell our families we did our duty. Tell the galaxy that humans do not surrender. Iron Resolve out. The first Devourer Queen appeared on their sensors 40 minutes later. It was even larger than the first one, its crystal surface scarred by millions of years of war. Behind it came 11 more queens, each leading a swarm of smaller creatures. My God, whispered Dr. Walsh. There are over 2 million of them. All weapons, target the lead queen, Morrison ordered. Let us see if we can get their attention. The Iron Resolve fired its 4 working plasma cannons at the approaching swarm. The energy bolt struck the lead queen's shields and exploded harmlessly. No damage, Captain, reported the weapons officer. Fire again. They fired again and again, their small weapons making no impression on the massive crystal entities. But the attacks had the desired effect. The Devourer Queens changed course and began moving directly toward the human ship. They are accelerating, Walsh reported. All 12 queens are heading straight for us. Good. The farther they chase us, the farther they get from our people. Morrison ordered the ship to move away from the direction the human fleet had taken. The Iron Resolve limped through space on damaged engines, leading the Devourer swarm away from Earth and the evacuated survivors. For 6 hours, the deadly game of chase continued. The human ship stayed just ahead of the Queens, firing occasional shots to keep their attention. The Devourers followed, growing more aggressive with each attack. Finally, the Iron Resolve's engines gave out. The ship drifted to a stop, surrounded by 12 crystal mountains and 2 million hungry killers. Well, Captain Morrison said to his crew, this is it. Anyone have any last words? Tony Cruz spoke up. It has been an honor serving with you all. Agreed, said Rachel Stone. Dr. Johnson nodded from the medical bay. See you on the other side. The Devourer Queens closed in, their crystal surfaces gleaming with anticipation. They had hunted for millions of years, but they had never encountered prey that fought back so fiercely. Captain, Rachel said quietly, the self-destruct is armed. Morrison watched the approaching queens on his screen. When they were close enough, he would trigger the explosion and take as many of them with him as possible. But as his finger moved toward the self-destruct button, something appeared on the edge of his sensors that made him smile. Tony, are you reading what I am reading? Tony checked his instruments and grinned. Yes, sir. Hyperspace signatures. A lot of them. How many? Ships. All of them, Captain. The entire human fleet is coming back. Dr. Kevin Walsh had been studying alien technology for 15 years, but the Zephyrian data about the Devourers made his hands shake. He sat in the ship's science lab with 3 computer screens showing different views of the crystal creatures. Computer, analyze Devourer adaptation patterns, he said. The ship's computer spoke in its calm voice. Analysis complete. Devourers show learning capability exceeding all known artificial intelligence systems. Adaptation time to new weapons, approximately 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Kevin whistled low. 4.5 minutes to adapt to any weapon. That meant human ships would get one good shot before the Devourers became immune to whatever they used. He tapped his communication badge. Dr. Walsh to Captain Morrison. Go ahead, Kevin. Sir, you need to see this data. These things are not just weapons. They are the perfect weapon. Whoever built them millions of years ago designed them to be unstoppable. Come to the bridge. Kevin gathered his data files and walked through the ship's corridors. As he passed the cargo bay, he could see the rescued Zephyrians through the open door. They huddled together in small groups, their large eyes wide with fear. Some of them pointed at the humans and whispered to each other. When he reached the bridge, Captain Morrison was standing with Security Chief Rachel Stone. They were looking at the main screen, which showed the crystal swarm getting closer. What did you find, Kevin? The captain asked. Sir, the Devourers are not just adaptive. They are intelligent. Each individual crystal creature shares information with all the others instantly. When one learns how to defend against a weapon, they all learn. Rachel Stone crossed her arms. So if we shoot one with a plasma cannon, all 10,000 of them become immune to plasma cannons in less than 5 minutes. What about different types of weapons used at the same time? They can adapt to multiple weapon types simultaneously, but it takes longer. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes for complex combinations. Captain Morrison nodded slowly. That gives us a window, but only if we have enough firepower to destroy all of them in that time. Sir, First Officer Lisa Grant called from her station. I am reading something else about these creatures. They do not just destroy ships. They consume them. They break down the metal and energy and use it to build more of themselves. How fast do they reproduce? According to the Zephyrian data, one devourer can become 2 devourers in about 6 hours if it has enough material to consume. Kevin felt sick. Captain, if these things have been spreading for millions of years, consuming every ship and planet they find, how many could there be? Billions, maybe trillions, spread across the entire galaxy. The bridge went quiet. Everyone stared at the screen showing the approaching crystal swarm. Tony, any word from Earth's command? Morrison asked. Communications Officer Tony Cruz shook his head. Not yet, sir, but I did intercept something interesting. The Zephyrians tried to send a message to their government, warning them about the Devourers. The message was blocked. Blocked how? The Devourers intercepted it and destroyed it. They do not want anyone to know they are here. Navigator Amy Torres looked up from her station. Captain, the Devourers have changed course slightly. They are not just coming toward us. They are moving to surround us. How long until they reach us? 37 minutes, sir. Captain Morrison walked to the communication panel. All hands, this is a captain. We are about to face an enemy that has been destroying civilizations for millions of years. They are smart, they are adaptive, and they are very dangerous. But they made one mistake. They threatened human beings, and human beings do not give up ever. Prepare for combat operations. Security Chief Rachel Stone started organizing the evacuation of Zephyrian civilians to the safest parts of the ship. As she worked, she noticed that the aliens kept staring at the humans with a mixture of hope and terror. One young Zephyrian female approached her. "Excuse me, human Rachel. I am Zilna. I was the one who sent the message to your world. You did the right thing," Rachel said, "but I am frightened. Your captain speaks of fighting these creatures. Our entire fleet could not hurt them. How can one human ship succeed?" Rachel looked at the alien's large, scared eyes. "Because we are not like other species. We come from a world where everything tries to kill us every day. We have been fighting for survival since we first stood upright, and we have gotten very good at it. But these creatures are so powerful. So are we." Dr. Walsh finished his analysis and called the captain again. "Sir, I have more data. The Devourers have a weakness. Tell me, they are powered by a central core in each unit. The core processes all the adaptation information. If we could overload those cores somehow, how do we overload them? By hitting them with too many different types of attacks at once. More than they can process and adapt to simultaneously." Captain Morrison smiled. "Kevin, how many different types of weapons does the Iron Resolve carry?" 17 different types, sir, plus the new experimental systems." "And how many different types do the Wolf Pack ships carry?" "Hundreds, sir. Every type of weapon humanity has ever invented." On the screen, the crystal swarm was getting closer. The individual Devourers were the size of buildings, their sharp edges reflecting the light from nearby stars. They moved with purpose and intelligence, like a pack of predators closing in on prey. Captain Amy Torres called out, "I am detecting something new. Long-range sensors show more Devourers coming." "A lot more. How many?" "At least 50,000, sir. Maybe more. They are coming from 3 different directions." The bridge crew exchanged glances. 50,000 Devourers, plus the 10,000 already surrounding them. The Iron Resolve was just one ship. "Tony, update our message to Earth's command. Tell them we need everything. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Tell them if we fail here, the Devourers will learn about Earth and every human colony." "Yes, sir." Captain Morrison looked at his crew. They were scared, but they were ready. They knew what they had to do. "Sir," Tony said, "I am getting a response from Earth's command. Put it through." A new voice came over the speakers. It was Admiral Chris Hayes, commander of the human Deep Space Fleet. "Jake, this is Chris. We got your message. The Wolf Pack is already in hyperspace. ETA 18 hours. We need to hold out for 18 hours against 60,000 adaptive killing machines. Can you do it?" Morrison looked at his crew, then at the approaching swarm of crystal deaths. "We will find a way, sir. Humans always do. Good luck, Jake. The entire species is counting on you." The communication ended. On the screen, the first Devourers were only minutes away. "All hands, battle stations, Captain Morrison announced. Time to show these ancient weapons what modern humans can do. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the strange alien vessel on his main screen. The thing was falling apart. Holes covered its hull, and pieces were floating away into space. Around it, thousands of crystal creatures moved like angry wasps. Lisa, what are you reading on those crystal things? He asked his first officer. First Officer Lisa Grant bent over her scanner station. Her brown hair fell across her face as she worked. Captain, these readings are crazy. The crystal beings are artificial, but they are also alive somehow. They are absorbing energy from their attacks on the alien ship. Are they machines or creatures? Both, sir, or neither? I have never seen anything like them. Jake rubbed his beard and studied the situation. He had been exploring deep space for 10 years, but this was something new. The human ship had traveled here faster than should be possible, using new engines that the Earth scientists had just finished building. Danny, how are our systems? He called to his chief engineer. Chief Engineer Danny Park looked up from his controls. All green, Captain. The new hyperspace drive worked perfectly. We made the trip in 3 days instead of 3 weeks. Good. Tony, can you get me a clean signal to that alien ship? Communications Officer Tony Cruz worked at his station. I have them, sir. The alien captain is still on his bridge. Looks like he sent his crew to escape pods. Put me through. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the alien vessel. A tall, thin creature with blue skin and large eyes stared back at them. The alien looked surprised and afraid. I am Captain Velter of the trader ship Harmony's Dream, the alien said in careful English. You are human? That's right. I'm Captain Morrison. We got your distress call. Looks like you have some trouble with those crystal things. You came, Velter said, and his voice shook. But how did you get here so fast? The message was sent 3 days ago. New engines, Jake said simply. Now, what exactly are we dealing with here? Navigator Amy Torres spoke up from her station. Captain, I am reading the aliens' computer files. They call these things devourers. They are some kind of ancient weapon system. Ancient how? Millions of years old, sir. They were built to destroy all organic life. They adapt to any weapon used against them and get stronger. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. How many worlds have they destroyed? Amy's face went pale as she read more data. Thousands, Captain. Maybe more. They have been spreading across the galaxy for a very long time. On the screen, Captain Velter was talking again. Captain Morrison, you must leave now. These creatures will destroy your ship too. Our weapons cannot hurt them. What kind of weapons were you using? Energy blasts, plasma cannons, particle beams. Everything we have. Jake looked at his crew. Dr. Kevin Walsh, the ship's scientist, was studying the readings at his station. Security Chief Rachel Stone was checking the ship's defensive systems. They all looked calm and ready. Captain Velter, we are going to get your people to safety first. Then we will deal with these devourers. You cannot fight them. They are too powerful. Maybe, but we have to try. Jake turned to his security chief. Rachel, start bringing those escape pods on board. All of them. Yes, sir. Rachel Stones. Fingers moved quickly over her controls, tractor beams engaging, bringing the alien life pods into our cargo bay. Tony, send a message to Earth's command. Priority Alpha. What should I say, Captain? Tell them we have found an ancient weapon system that has been destroying civilizations for millions of years. Tell them we need the wolf pack here immediately. Tony's hand stopped moving. Sir, are you sure? The wolf pack is our entire deep space combat fleet. Send a message. Amy Torres looked up from her navigation station. Captain, the crystal beings are moving toward us now. They must see us as a threat. On the screen, Captain Velter was shaking his head. You do not understand. These creatures learn from every attack. If you shoot energy weapons at them, they become immune to energy weapons. If you use kinetic weapons, they adapt to those too. What if we use both at the same time? What if we hit them with energy and kinetic weapons together, so fast they cannot adapt to both? Dr. Walsh looked up from his station. Captain, that might work, but we would need perfect timing and overwhelming firepower. We will have it. How long until the wolf pack gets here? 2 days, sir, Tony said. Then we hold out for 2 days. Rachel Stone reported from her station. All alien escape pods are on board, Captain. 23 crew members total. They are scared but unhurt. Good. Take us away from the alien ship. Let's see if these devourers follow us. The Iron Resolve moved away from the dying Zephyrian vessel. The crystal swarm turned and followed the human ship like a pack of hunting animals. They are following us, Amy reported. Speed increasing. They will reach us in 1 hour. Jake nodded. All hands, prepare for defensive action. We are going to play keep away with these things until help arrives. Dr. Walsh came over to the captain's chair. Sir, I have been studying the Zephyrian data. These devourers are not just weapons. They are self-replicating. Every time they destroy a ship, they use the materials to build more of themselves. How many are out there total? Unknown. But if they have been spreading for millions of years, Walsh shook his head. There could be billions of them across the galaxy, and they just keep growing. Yes, sir, until they destroy all organic life. Jake looked at the crystal swarm on his screen. They were beautiful in a terrible way, like living diamonds moving through space. But now he knew what they really were. They were a plague that had been killing for millions of years. Captain, Rachel said, the aliens want to talk to you. They say it is important. Put them through. Captain Vilter appeared on a smaller screen. Behind him, Jake could see other blue-skinned aliens in what looked like the cargo bay. Captain Morrison, I must warn you, you cannot let these creatures reach your home world. If they learn about Earth, they will go there and destroy everything. How do they learn about new worlds? They read the computers of every ship they destroy. They take all the information about star charts, planet locations, everything. Jake felt his blood turn cold. If the Devourers destroyed his ship, they would learn about Earth, about the billions of humans living there, about all the other human colonies. Then we do not let them destroy our ship, he said simply. But how can you fight them? They are too strong. Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Captain Velter, you called us because you heard we were dangerous. You were right. We are going to show you just how dangerous humans can be when someone threatens our home. The ship shook again, and Captain Velter gripped the edge of his command chair. His blue hands trembled as he watched the main screen. The things outside his ship were getting closer. "Captain, the shields are down to 15%, called out his weapons officer. The young Zephyrian's voice cracked with fear. "Our energy blasts are not working. They just make the crystal sing stronger." Velter closed his large eyes and tried to think. His people were traitors, not fighters. They had never seen anything like these creatures before. The crystal beings moved through space like a living cloud. Each one was the size of a small building, with sharp edges that caught the light from nearby stars. When his ship's weapons hit them, they seemed to grow bigger and move faster. "How many are there now?" he asked. "Computer says over 10,000, Captain. Maybe more coming." The Zephyrian captain looked around his bridge. His crew of 20 had been flying together for 5 years. They sold art and food to different planets. They had never hurt anyone. Now they were going to die because they flew into the wrong part of space. Communications officer Zilna spoke up from her station. "Captain, I am picking up strange readings from the crystal beings. They are not alive, but they are not simple machines either. They seem to be learning from our attacks. Learning what? How to fight us better. Each time we shoot at them, they adapt. Our weapons become less effective." Another hit shook the ship. Sparks flew from damaged panels. The lights flickered and went dim for a moment. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported the engineering officer. "I have sealed it, but we cannot take many more hits like that." Velter stood up and walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Outside, he could see the crystal swarm moving toward them. They looked like angry stars, bright and sharp and deadly. His ship was small compared to them. His people were peaceful compared to them. "Captain," Zilna said quietly, "I have an idea, but you will not like it. Tell me." "There is a planet in this sector that the Galactic Council has banned all contact with. They call it a deathworld. The beings there are supposed to be very dangerous." Velter turned to look at her. "You want to call the most dangerous species in the galaxy for help? Sir, we are going to die anyway. Maybe they can help us. Maybe they know how to fight these things." "What planet?" "Sol 3, the third planet from a yellow star. The species there calls themselves humans." Velter had heard stories about humans. They came from a world where everything tried to kill everything else. They had wars that lasted for years. They built weapons that could destroy whole cities. The Galactic Council had decided long ago that humans were too violent to join the peaceful alliance of species. "Captain, hull breach on Deck 5 now, called engineering. And Deck 3, the crystal things are cutting through our ship like it is made of paper." "Do it," Velter said. "Send a message." Zilna's fingers moved over her controls. She opened a channel on all frequencies and aimed it toward the Sol system. "Unknown species of Sol 3, we are dying. The crystal entities have found us. They call themselves Devourers. Our weapons do not work. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help." She looked up at her captain. "Message sent, sir. It will take 3 days to reach them. If anyone is listening, how long do we have?" The weapons officer checked his screens. "The Devourers will break through our shields in maybe 6 hours, Captain." Velter sat back down. 6 hours. The message would not even reach the human planet for 3 days. Even if the humans got it right away, even if they decided to help, They could not travel fast enough to save his ship. All crew to emergency stations, he announced over the ship's speakers. Prepare for evacuation to the life pods. But even as he said it, he knew the life pods would not save them. The crystal beings would hunt them down one by one. His people would die in the cold darkness of space, far from their home world. "Captain," called the science officer, "I am reading something strange about these devourers." "They are old, sir. Very old. The computer thinks they might be millions of years old." "What does that mean?" "I think they are some kind of weapon, sir. Maybe from an ancient war. They were made to destroy life, and they have been doing it for a very long time." Velter felt a chill run through his body. A weapon from an ancient war, still killing after millions of years. How many worlds had these things destroyed? How many species had died calling for help that never came? "Sir, the devourers are changing formation," reported the weapons officer. "They are surrounding us on the main screen." The crystal beings moved like a pack of hunters. They spread out in all directions around the Zephyrian ship. There would be no escape. "Captain, I am sorry I suggested calling the humans," Zilna said. "If we survive this, the Galactic Council will ban us for making contact with them. If we survive this, I will gladly face their punishment," Velter replied. "At least someone will know what happened to us." The ship shook again, harder this time. More sparks flew. More lights went out. "All hands, abandon ship," Velter announced. "Get to the life pods now." His crew moved quickly but calmly. They were scared, but they were trained. They knew what to do. One by one, the life pods launched from the dying ship. Velter watched them go on his screen. 23 pods carrying his crew to safety, at least for a little while. "Captain, you must go too," Zilna said. "I will be the last to leave, as always." But as he spoke, something appeared on the edge of his sensors. Something big, moving very fast. "Captain, there is a ship coming," called the science officer from his emergency station. "It is not Zephyrian. It is not any design I know. Impossible. No one could get here that fast." "Sir, it is here, right now." A large vessel coming out of hyperspace. Velter stared at the screen. A new ship appeared, bigger than his own, with strange markings on its hull. It looked like it was built for war. Then a voice came over the communications system, speaking in rough but understandable galactic standard. "Zephyrian vessel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Iron Resolve. We got your message. What seems to be the trouble?"